insist, mate. Now, High-Tech Oils race Winton here at the Winton Motor Raceway on this Saturday afternoon. We've had a long day already, but there's still one to go, folks. We finish it off with Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia, the first of 3 races this weekend. And the sun has started to set. I mean, full cloud coming over right now. I mean, you've got to catch your breath, Molly and Fabian, after you witness that. And Trans Am, I mean, they always deliver. You should see it from the commentary box. It's crazy town up there.
Such a great layout, 3Ks, all sorts of challenges for the drivers to contend with. We're ready for the first one of the weekend here at Winton. We jump on board with Michael Clementi, and while we're riding with him, we've got a very special message from the driving force behind this team. Superstar international DJ Carl Cox. I mean, he's got motorcycle riders at the Isle of Man TT. He's got Michael Clementi here in the Cooper Leon. He loves his motorsport. As we said earlier, we'd love to have him spinning the discs at a party at the end of the season, maybe. So Clementi has pole from the series leader or points leader in Sweeney. We go back to Tony D'Alberto, our champion last year, beside Buchan, who won at Phillip Island.
Zach Suter and Aaron Cameron start out of 5 and 6. Ben Barguana back from his TCR Global Tour race in Spa has Jordan Cox for company on 8th position. Lockie Manif and Tom Oliphant back in the Autoglim Alpha this weekend. Welcome Clay Richards into the series in the Shannons Insurance Audi. Cody Garland joins him on the 6th row. Ian McDougall and Brad Harris, his second start in the Wall Racing Civic. That is your field of 14, ready for race number 1. 20th round start this weekend for Jordan Cox. It's also Tony D'Alberto's 60th race in the championship. He finished 5th here in 2019, as we know, went on to win Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia last year and defends the championship. This guy never look past Josh Buchan in car number 30. Doesn't matter what he applies himself to, this kid is very talented.
He loves driving just about anything, and he's very good, Matt, in that coaching kind of role too, as an instructor. So he knows how to keep it in, and that's why he's been so good with us when he's come up to commentary, because he keeps it in those layman's terms and knows exactly what's going on with the car.
Helps us.
That car rolling up to the first row of the grid now. If you rewound the clock in Super Cheap Auto TCR to 2019, well, it was one Will Brown at the wheel of an i30N who was unbelievable that weekend here. This is the newer generation car in the hands of Josh Buchan. And then we look at Michael Clementi closing the window, sealing the capsule. What's he got in that Ryco Cupra Leon? Can he get another win in the TCR Australia record books, just like he did with that breakthrough at the Island?
Eyes focused on that first turn, less than 400 metres away. As the revs rise, Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia right across the country here today on Stan Sport, and the 9 is away. Dramas for Cameron in the background. Clementi gets a good start. So too does Tony D'Alberto, but the door will be shut as his HMO Customer Racing teammate moves up to second. And I think that's Zach Suter trying to hang on the outside there in the tough lift. Audi car 110 to 50 lap in the background. Buchan seesaw away at the wheel, but holds on to that position. A wild couple of corners as race 1 is underway.
Getting brave on those cold tyres. This is Tom Oliphant from the British Touring Car Championship, in addition to our series in 2023. Bases himself in Wollongong with his fiancée Jen. Oh, Clementi. Little bit of a lock brake, maybe just the back end of the car stepping out a little bit. So it's Clementi leading the way from Josh Buchan. Bailey Sweeney has dropped down to 3rd place, and a great start in that tough lift Audi by Zach Suter.
Jordan Cox is up 3 positions. There he is in the Schaeffler Peugeot. So 2 battle packs of cars. Ian McDougall glued to the side for a moment of the Burson Auto Parts Peugeot of Ben Barguana as the drivers continue to try and put heat through these Kumho tyres. And it's incredibly cool conditions out there. We saw the same during qualifying today. It took several laps to get some heat. The cars look awkward for at least 4 or 5 laps out there today.
You can see that flailing bodywork for Aaron Cameron's car, and it might be rubbing slightly, judging by a bit of that smoke, Matt, on that right front tyre. So he stays up it. Clay Richards knocking on the door of the 10, just like he was in qualifying, 11th at the moment. There he is in the Shannons Insurance entry, chasing Ben Barguana.
So Clementi leads us through at the end of lap number 1 here at Winton Motor Raceway. He only led the 1 lap, and that was the final lap of the race. In race 2 to score his maiden victory. He scored his first pole position here today. A team on the rise in 2023. This is feisty. These guys going through 3 and 4. Manif ahead of Cameron, Oliphant, and Ben Barguana just behind.
Manif's car looks like it's a handful at the moment, doesn't it? Just as everything perhaps comes up to temperature and pressure, but a good drive. He's up 2 spots into position 7, so feisty was the words by Matt. Have a look at this. The stablemates, the HMO Customer Racing teammates. Josh Buchan versus our points-led leader in Bailey Sweeney. Off goes Cameron. Oh, tough start. It didn't seem to want to get off the line, and it's just getting worse.
And that will take a couple of laps to get rid of the mud off those tyres and underneath that car. So what a troublesome start to his race, and we're only 2 laps into it. As he drops the talus, there's something more to that story. That's Harris in the exclusive switchboards. 74, the Honda Civic. Meantime, out in front, it's Clementi. Nearly a second clear now of Buchan, Sweeney, Suter, Jordan Cox, Tony D'Alberto, Oliphant, Barguana, Clay Richards up into 9th, and Ian McGougal now in 10th.
Clementi with the fastest lap so far, Matt, but Sweeney banking some good sectors. So we'll watch here. This is a replay of the start. A couple of things unfolded there. So Cameron with a difficult launch, but a great job in the Audi, the tough lift Audi by Zach Suter. And Sweeney with a bit of trouble too, sorry.
Barguana also lucky to, and that curve actually saved him on the inside too. For mine, Tony D'Alberto had the best start. This was Cameron and Cody Garland. So the 2 E Valvoline cars making contact. And poor Aaron Cameron, what a busy lap this was. He got served up again on the exit of turn number 2. He looks up at the mirror and goes, guys, what is going on? It's the first turn.
Here's Jordan Cox continuing as we look at that. Oh, wow, that tells more of the story. Wow, on Tony D'Alberto. So Jordan Cox, who we were talking about making all that ground up to 5th, but there was a bit of elbows out stuff. And unfortunately for Cameron, that's what unfolded.
Meantime, here's Sweeney. Feeling the pressure from his HMO Customer Racing teammate, Josh Buchan, has better power, better drive out of turn number 10. Suter looking to make this 3 wide, nowhere to go. He's pushing the 130 line. In fact, a bit of Morse coding going along here.
Remember me?
Russ Suter runs behind. He's told Josh Buchan he's done it. The elf in-car camera with Josh Buchan at the end of the 3rd lap of this race. This is a much better day for Zach Suter. Remember, they had to withdraw this car twice in the first round. He knows he's on the back foot, probably not going to be in championship contention this year, but they need to develop this 110 out. It was brand new at the start of this year.
His dad's a guy that has raced at world level in sidecars, right, for this country, and he was, in a simple way, kind of calling for calm yesterday. They're a little, miffed and probably a bit rattled about what's happened in the opening couple of rounds. It's such a professional little outfit, this, that they figured they would be in a better place than where they are now. He said, let's keep it simple. Let's get a good foundation underneath us as far as car setup is concerned. Let's not get radical here in the pursuit of points.
They're not going to be learning anything with this car if it stayed in the garage at each round. Meantime, Cameron has made a quick detour into the pits at GRM. And looks like it's done the rallycross event here more than it's done a TCR race. He leaves the Shannons pit lane and back onto the course here. Lap 4 of 18. Clementi and Sweeney unchanged in front. Suter up 2 positions. Jordan Cox is up 3 spots into 5th. And Clay Richards, the mover from the outside. He's now in 9th position in his debut for Melbourne Performance Centre.
Great stuff. The grandson of the great Jimmy Richards, who we hear will be with us tomorrow at Winton. Very cool. Jim's son, Stephen, the 5-time Bathurst winner, is absolutely on the tools, helping Clay Richards. So, good little group, good little family when you head down there to Melbourne Performance running that car. It's, at the moment, only a one-off entry, but we hope it'll translate into something more for young Clay Richards.
Of course, grandfather Jim, if we can call him that, won the very first touring car championship race here back in 1985. Those beautiful JPS BMWs went on to be the most round time winner here with 4 in the 80s in the BMW and Nissan GTR teams. So perhaps that's a bit of an omen. We know that Richards can motor cars at any circuit around this country, can't they?
Yeah, they sure can. He's been over in New Zealand running in the 86 series over summer. He's at the wheel of something regularly. And, you know, it's a tough championship, that Australian 86 series, and he's been a front runner in that too, Matt, as you know.
And Stephen's been working on the car. In fact, I went into the garage yesterday at Melbourne Performance Centre, and there's Stephen Richards' legs hanging out from underneath while they were repairing the power steering dramas they had with the Shannons insurance car. So he's in 9th position, while Clementi stays at 2.5 seconds. Fastest lap of the circuit so far is Bailey Sweeney with a 26.24. And he's just joined our coverage here this afternoon. The race has been declared wet, but so far we can't see too much precipitation on this racetrack. It's Clementi from Sweeney, Suter, Bucket and Cox here at Winton Motor Raceway.
That fastest lap you were detailing for Bailey Sweeney means that he has narrowed the margin, Matt, to 2.39 seconds to Michael Clementi, our race leader. Now, Clementi looks solid, particularly the mid part of the lap. He's fastest in the middle sector, and now Michael has responded. He knows that Sweeney is eking into that advantage that he's got. He's just gone fastest in the first sector, so nice response from Michael Clementi.
Our first time here also on the Kumho tyre. Last time we were here in 2019, we're on the Michelin tyre. Of course, we've moved into the Kumho tyre to bring us in line with the global series that comes to Australia later this year. So we might as well be on the same tyre as the rest of the crews across the world to give us a bit of a chance of running with them when they come to Sydney in November. And of course, Mount Panorama, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International. Back-to-back weekends. We came back to Richards, Oliphant, and Ian McDougall is back behind the beautiful silver and red number 22 Audi for Melbourne Performance Centre. Of course, this team, Challenge Motorsport, setting up their own business now just down the road from MPC and committing to the future of TCR Australia.
We didn't have him with us for the Phillip Island round, but that was a leave pass with good reason. He became a dad. Little Ruby is, we had a photo of Ruby watching the coverage a little earlier today, so lovely news for the McDougall family.
Kind of couldn't get away with that one, could he?
Well, Granddad, who's here too, I think it's the first grandchild of the family, he's pretty happy, so lovely stuff. Michael, it's 2.2 now, so Sweeney has now a 1 minute, he's almost into the 25s, Matt, 1 minute 26.04. So Sweeney has the eyes on at the moment and is continuing to chase this man here, our race leader.
He looks so in control of this car. It's only its second meeting. They had a test day with this car last week in the lead up to it, but it's largely been untested. And he got out of the car yesterday quite frustrated. It just felt awkward, it felt weird, but he was still quickest. And that gave the team confidence. So once they get it right, this car is going to be unbeatable.
And I said it a little earlier in the coverage. That's one of the things about TCR globally. They have these measures to level the playing field. And that's a very difficult process because you've got all these different cars that perform and behave differently, right? So the Honda might have good drive, for example, and, you know, one of the other marques performs in a different way. So in some respects, Clementi's gone through a bit of re-education. So what's the best way for him to get the most from this Cupra Leon?
Exactly. He just needs to keep doing laps. We're in car now with the Carl Cox Motorsport entry, and that's a great addition. I mean, if Carl Cox is going to pick a race team, it's these guys, because there's always a party going on down in their pit area. Most notably was that day in Phillip Island last year. Our commentary box was down at turn 4, and we could hear the noise coming from that garage.
What concerns me is the mascot that he's got running in the roll cage there on the far right-hand side. Is that a Matt Nolte mascot, the Cookie Monster?
Well, I like supporting him.
Good.
Because he comes out of the now really in demand XL series. Bit of karting, has done the Bathurst 6 hour as well. For controlling this race at Winton.
Been a couple of puffs of smoke, brakes locking just a little bit, which I think underscores the pressure Michael Clementi is feeling here at the moment. Bailey Sweeney in second place in that Hyundai i30N for HMO Customer Racing has narrowed the gap to less than 2 seconds now, and he looks like going sub 1 minute 26 here, Matt. This may be, this young man keeps going fastest lap after fastest lap in this race. as he continues to hunt down Clemente. Now, that last corner, that apex wasn't necessarily ideal. Let's see what Sweeney does here. Fastest in sectors 1 and 2, he does. He goes at 25.689, new fastest lap of the race, and the margin, as you can see, is now just over 1.5 seconds.
Make sure you join Australia's most loyal loyalty club. Visit supercheapauto.com. We love their support. Justin Murray and the crew, they really get amongst their series, don't they?
I'm a member.
Card-carrying member?
I'm a card-carrying member. True story.
Is that why you were in the lounge that day?
Oh, stop it.
Okay, I'll get it now. No wonder my back's sore.
Here is Michael Clemente again. Now, there's some of that, I mean, we have to remember, Matt, he made that bid, got by Jordan Cox for that race win at the Island, but this is still continuing the learnings for this young man. It's not a position he's regularly been in, is it?
Not at all. And he's controlling it like he's done it a million times. He's got Bailey Sweeney just behind, who's a 4-time winner and leads the series. He was last year's TCR Rookie of the Year and came out at Simmons Plains with a dominant drive. And he arrived last year, we went, Bailey who? And he come out, won at Bathurst in that sunset race we had on a Saturday afternoon. But since then, has been a regular for HMO Customer Racing. Of course, a member of the Erebus Academy. The 20-year-old from Bateman's Bay, who's done some karting and a bit of Toyota 86. And now playing with the big guys at TCR Australia.
I think he kind of does his talking on track too, doesn't he? I mean, he's quietly spoken at times. Really, when you are in Shannon's victory lane and you see him down there and what it means to him and what he's doing at the moment by continuing to execute, right? Hit your lines, hit your marks, keep going lap after lap and delivering. He's got it down to, as I said now, just over 1.5 seconds. So he can do no more than that right now.
Incredibly different driver to what we saw last year as well. He was sort of shy, quite reserved guy when we first met him, but really professional now. He'll give you a quote when you go into the pits. He understands the media side of it now as well. He knows the more he's in front of the cameras, the more the sponsors see him, and he's letting his talking work on the racetrack right now.
I try to go easy on him. You are full hard-hitting current affair media.
Oh, yeah. Take no prisoners.
Bateman's Bay too, which is where he hails from, New South Wales South Coast. That is a beautiful part of the world. So it's now less than 1.5. Then it's quite a gap back to Zach Suter. I thought that Audi might switch on all the more. Maybe just in the early part of the race was perhaps at its best. But you know what? After the season he's had so far, those opening few rounds, if he can bring that 110 home in third, that'll be a good result. Some sugar. Clay Richards continuing in the background as we look at, speaking of generations, there's Jason Barguana. We've got all three generations here, don't we? So Harry and Alpha here.
Of course, Jude was dominant earlier today in the Kumo V8 touring cars. A bit jet lagged still from returning from the Spa-Francorchamps track just a few days ago, in fact, where he contested his second round in the TCR Global Series.
He reckons he nearly held his breath going down through Eau Rouge. Apparently it was unreal. So, and it's been a little bit of an eye-opener. This is what I can't wait for when the World Tour comes here later in the year. Those drivers are playing for keeps. Ben said it's been a real good learning curve for him. They play hardball.
Every position is like up for $1 million, isn't it? I think the names like Tom Coronel, who's been around for many, many years in touring car competition. Over there, looking forward to seeing them come out later this year. Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International, featuring the TCR Global World Tour. It's an international event. We're looking forward to it. It was scheduled to be here a couple of years ago, but that word we don't mention, it starts with P, put an end to that. And now, with it all back to normal, we're looking forward to seeing some of the international greats coming out to take on the famed mountain there in New South Wales.
I feel for Tony D. He's dropped 2 spots. We saw that in this race. He's coming into this round of the championship 9th in the standings, our defending champion. He needs points. A great podcast chat with our buddy Aaron Noonan recently, talking about his career and some of the things that he's done over time. Nice to see him getting that light shone on his career. Hopefully tomorrow's a day where he can bank more points, and let's hope, Matt, too, that when we go to Queensland Raceway in August, get your tickets now at motorsporttickets.com.au. That's going to be a fabulous weekend up there with all sorts of categories, including ace stuntman Matt Mingay doing some shows as well. But we know Tony D was great at Queensland Raceway last time.
We love Matty Mingay. Looking forward to that round. But for now, it's Clementi still leading by a second and a half back to Sweeney and Sita.
Watching our reigning Super Cheap Auto Australia TCR champion, Tony D'Alberto at work. He sits 6th here at the moment in this first race of the weekend. Tomorrow we'll invert the top part of the grid. We'll mix things up a little bit. So that could be good for a, what are we talking, Matt? Maybe an Oliphant Richards front row. Wow.
Well, that's a good point to bring up too. The top 10, of course, reversing around. Oliphant missed it at the last round. And it backs up what we said during qualifying earlier today, that you can have a bad run in qualifying, but get yourself around that 9th or 10th position and be the Sunday morning superstar. It's not half points, it's only a 10-point drop. So it's not like an empty victory, is it? You're still getting 40 points for a victory.
How often have you been a Sunday morning superstar? You're often late here, aren't you?
Often, yeah. No chance of me being a superstar. I think I'm what you call a lemon.
No, you're not. Far from it, my friend. So yeah, I mean, it is a part of the thought process in the way you need to tackle and roll on the weekend. Clementi continues to cling to this. It's less than a second now. 0.9. Can Bailey Sweeney with a handful of laps? He's just chipping away, keeping that pressure on him. Meantime, Aaron Cameron, do my eyes deceive me? Is that I'm not sure that timing's right. It's popped up with a 1:22.07. That sounds staggeringly fast. I'm not sure that's quite right.
It'll be 2 seconds under the previous record from 3 years ago. Everyone else in the 25s and 26s this race. In fact, 26.9 at 26.0, the fastest lap for Clementi. So I think they might want to get the rubber out in a second. Sounds good. Through they come again. So he knows that closing laps are here. It's less than 0.8 of a second as he sees that Ryko sign starting to get bigger in front. The Cupra that's led this race from the get-go. Conditions getting darker here at Winton Motor Raceway.
0.7 now. Again, 2/10 by Bailey Sweeney. There are some very good people in that HMO customer racing operation. Rob Benson, what a great Australian motorsport export story he is. And down there these days, having been in NASCAR and all sorts of things on the international scene. And you mentioned it earlier today in qualifying, Matt. There are 2 cars that we're seeing on track here at the moment. A third in the stable. Wouldn't that be cool to get a third Hyundai on track maybe in coming rounds?
Absolutely. Of course, Rob Benson oversaw the test day with Bailey Sweeney and said, yeah, this kid's got it. We've got to give him a run. And Benson, of course, been with this team since the first race. HMO Customer Racing were the OGs, I guess, of TCR back in 2019. They've stuck it through some tough times during 2020 and early 2021, but now being rewarded with a couple of young guys hitting their straps in Bailey Sweeney and Josh Buchan.
Love the fact that Benson backed him. I think that's tremendous for that young man. Now he flashes the light, so he's the intimidator. He's doing all that he can to try and rattle Clementi. It's down to 0.5 now. Sweeney chasing Clementi.
So around half a second is the margin. Bailey Sweeney has had the chisel out in the last couple of laps here, chipping away. And Michael Clementi's got the headlights ablaze now, trying to intimidate the Carl Cox Motorsport Cupra ahead with 4 laps remaining. They've pulled away some 6 seconds back to Zach Suter, who has the same margin back to Buchan. He's got Jordan Cox 6/10 behind him.
Meantime, the other part of this story as we near the end of this first race is a reminder that race 2 and 3 to come your way live tomorrow, and we'll invert the top 10 on the grid for race 2. So that would mean the grandson of Jim Richards, Clay Richards, would be on the front row for tomorrow's race. Provisionally, the Brit Tom Oliphant from the British Touring Car Championship driving for Ash Seaward in that Alfa Romeo on pole.
Of course, the only place to see it is on Stan Sport tomorrow, each and every round of the Speed Series. Live and ad break free. Head to stansport.com.au/sport and start your 7-day free trial. Do it now. There's a lot of motor racing coming up in the next 24 hours. A load of sport. Only place to watch it on Stan Sport.
Time running out. He got it down to half a second. Looks a little bit closer this time. Let's see as they cross the start-finish line. That's 0.6. So Clementi's doing a good job here to maintain, to try and keep it at that. But the lines from Sweeney are tidier, aren't they? So different approaches here, but it's still keeping Michael where he needs to be.
He's just going to harass him. Make sure Clementi just stares more at the mirror than what's ahead. It's clean racetrack. There's nobody really around him that's going to interfere with this race ahead. There certainly won't be some lap cars in this one. Through that long sweeping left-hander at turn 4, change of direction up over the top of the curb here. Into this really tricky, but a part of the circuit that rewards patience.
You can always remember Jason Bargwanna talking about a really significant race win in his career. When he got away and he got ahead of the field as Clementi has done, he moved the rearview mirror so he couldn't see behind him or wouldn't be focused on that part of it, and he didn't readjust it, the one in the cabin I'm talking about, until the end of the race, until the last lap.
0.8 of a second. It sits at this. Suter is safe for third position now as these two make their way down to turn number 11. There'll be 2 laps remaining. Of course, tomorrow's reverse top 10 race features Oliphant and Clay Richards as the front row as it stands at the moment.
Probably haven't had, because we've been watching all sorts of, again, he flashes the lights at him. He keeps trying. You've got to use every asset in your armoury, don't you? There's third place. That'll be a huge result for the Suter family, for that team. If he can bring it home in third position. I was going to give a quick shout out, Matt, to Lockie Manif. It was a bit of a wild ride to start this race. That's another good performance. 7th in this one at the moment.
A couple of 7th place finishes this year for Zach Suter. In fact, his best result is over 12 months ago. He picked up the win in race 3 at Symmons Plains. So they'll take a podium. His 5th one of his career. As Sweeney continues to harass and annoy the 22-year-old from Point Cook here in Victoria. The remaining lap and a half.
He had a glance, he had a little look just to see where Bailey is. He keeps it at 0.7. So here's where you see from our drone shot a couple of places where the I-30N might be fractionally better, where it might have a little bit of an advantage. And then the Cupra comes back into its own. This is a great arm wrestle between 2 young racers, and it's a rare wide that Bailey Sweeney bowls. He goes very deep under brakes. Nice recovery.
And lucky not to go on the outside. Now there's a massive puddle in between the racetrack and pit entry that Adam Garwood found earlier today during Touring Car Masters. Is that enough to let Clementi off the hook? He starts the final lap as he dances and bounces the Carl Cox Motorsport Cupra through the S's on this, the final lap.
How's the confidence level going to be for this young guy? Gets the brand new car at Phillip Island, untried, untested, gets a race win. He then comes here to Phillip Island as the family and friends look on. I think he's one of 5 from memory, in 5 kids in the Clementi family. They've worked enormously hard to get to this point, to garner the attention, to get the support of people like Carl Cox. He goes and gets a pole position, puts the Cupra Leon on pole. It's an awesome addition to our raft of makes and marks that we have in Supercheap Auto TCR. But he has had to fight for this one, Matt. This will be one to savour.
Hasn't been a walk in the park, has it? And pole position earlier today with a new qualifying lap record for the Carl Cox Motorsport team. Doesn't he know how to get behind the right people? He's involved with events like the Isle of Man, the Macau Grand Prix, and the Goodwood Festival. And these days, with Michael Clementi in Supercheap Auto TCR Australia, 1 turn remains. What a day it's been. Practice yesterday was strong. Qualifying was better. Pole position is race 1 here at Winton Motor Raceway to Michael Clementi. The team, a round of applause, hugs and kisses and high fives all round.
Great job, Zach Suter, for the Tough Lift outfit. They brought that car home in third. There's a little bit of emotion. That shows you what it means. It hasn't been a case of just go and get whatever you want. Let's go racing. It's been a lot of hard work and hard graft for that family. They're hands-on in that operation. That's a good win, and as I say, Matt, that'll be huge for his confidence. Pole position to race win for Michael Clementi, his second one in this championship. Well done to everybody down there. Completed our top 3 by Bailey Sweeney, who continues to add points in the title race. Zach Suter, after a tough start in 2023, is in the top 3.
And a long way back to Josh Buchan in the end there, some 7 seconds. Jordan Cox gets some points in the Schaeffler Peugeot back in 5th. But your pole man tomorrow, Tom Oliphant, will be joined by rookie Clay Richards. We spin the top 10 around for tomorrow. It gives the UK driver the pole position for Ash Seaward Motorsport. That's cool. Fantastic result. Well done to Michael Clementi Motorsport. They'll start from 10th tomorrow, but a big bag of points coming up for that team. Clementi, Sweeney and Suter, the top 3. Well, motor racing doesn't stop when we leave here at Winton today. Tonight, the magic of the Le Mans 24-hour begins. Catch all the action as the legendary Endurance Classic celebrates its 100th year. These are some of the coolest cars you'll ever see in a truly world-famous motorsport event, and it's all happening right here, live, ad-free, on demand on Stan Sport. This is the 100th year of the Le Mans 24-hour race tonight on Stan Sport. That is your top 3 here as the sun sets at High Tech Oil's Race Winton. Championship-wise, well, Bailey Sweeney sneaks into the 300s now. It's a 31-point margin back to Michael Clementi with that big bag of points today.